Okay, everybody, here we are. It's 4 o'clock on Friday where we do our Q&A, questions and answers. So that's all we do. And so I need some questions and we'll answer them and maybe have a story or two to tell you. So, Italo, is there any calls? Any questions yet?
Yeah, I'm very excited to be here, and I wanted to remind you that there was a question from last week regarding the colostrum. Someone had asked if it was better taken on liquid form or if it was better taken on pill form. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I want to make sure everyone knows who you are, okay? Your name is Italo, right? Italo started off
Yes.
being a patient of mine. We found out what he does for a living. He said he could help me get the word out, so it could help more people with the questions and answers. And he is helping me out. His name is Italo, and he's my moderator for right now. Okay, so the question is colostrum we had, I think, last week. Is it better powder or capsules? Okay. Everybody does have the belief, and I think it seems like common sense, that, we're better off with the powder because it's easier to absorb. That's not usually important because capsules are always easy to absorb or digest, except for when sometimes we see them. We see them in our stool, and we will realize that we're not breaking these down. So technically, you're better with the powder. And another thing I like about the powder, you can manage the quantities better. If I tell you if you're taking one capsule twice a day and I want you to take just a little more quantity, you'd have to open a capsule and take a little bit out instead of just jumping from 1 to 2. With powder, you can always just take a pinch and just increase it. Sometimes what I do say, real technical term, right? Just take a pinch more. And so powder is better in that sense because it's not so much the absorbability that does come up, but it's more about the ability to micromanage the dosages. Okay?
Fantastic, doctor. Appreciate that information. It's very valuable. And it's interesting what you said about, when you see the capsule come out on the other side.
Yeah.
Does that it's not, that your body's not fully digesting at that time?
I had a septic system at a place I lived once where, the waste went to the septic. It ran over one time. I don't know what the reason was. It ran over and I saw the birds out there going crazy. And I said, boy, they're really picking away at my septic system. And I realized that they were picking up these capsules. So it looked like all the capsules I had taken for, who knows, a year went through the system and I wasn't digesting them. There was some new company that had a time lapse capsule, but I guess the time lapse didn't work too well. So I also wanted to comment on one other thing that came up. So I promised somebody I would talk about real quick. Is that people are always asking me, can I take this with that? Is it alright if I take the mastic when I'm also taking vitamin C, or medications? Can I take things together? And I tell them you can take any of this stuff together. As a matter of fact, as far as nutrition goes, plants and herbs, they're not meant to, nature doesn't think in terms of dividing things up. It doesn't think we need to take the vitamin A over there and we'll take the vitamin C later on. You can mix it all together because it's all just food. And as far as drug goes, I don't know of any contraindications that do not allow us to take an herbal product with a prescription drug. I've never run across it. They work together well. Remember, you're taking food. That's all the supplements are, is food in a concentrated form, and they have a biological effect, but they don't interfere with the drugs at all. As a matter of fact, in many cases, I just had an appointment with somebody. I said, bring on the prednisone. Bring on that prednisone. We need it. Why? Because if you have unnaturally high levels of inflammation, that's what happens with these new antibiotics. You wipe out the whole system of bacteria. Then you have all this tissue exposed. It becomes inflamed by our acids, and you have these unnaturally high. That never would have happened. High levels of inflammation without the antibiotics. And the natural stuff says, what am I supposed to do with a tsunami of inflammation? I say, bring on the prednisone. That's going to lower the inflammation and make the supplements work better. And then we wean off the prednisone, and we're better for having taken it. So yes, it's a big happy party. Everything can be taken together. Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, we've got a great question here from someone in the audience, Sandy. She says, what do you think of colon irrigation?
Colonic irrigation. Well, colonic
Yes.
irrigation is, if people don't know, it's when they basically stick a tube up your butt. These are professional people who are trained. You go into their office and they stick a tube. It sounds a little crude, uh, but it's in it. They wash your colon with water, and I don't know if they put some other substance in there. I imagine they do. I haven't had one for years. I think they're really good if you really are stuck up, if you're really clogged up, and you keep on getting clogged up, and you have what we refer to as a blockage. Let's go get it cleaned out. But as far as doing them on a regular basis, the colonic irrigation people are going to probably want to kill me. I don't believe in them taking them all the time because you're not really fixing the problem. I was going to say rectifying the problem, rectum. You're not really fixing the problem. You're just cleaning things out. You need to strengthen the muscles. So the answer would be yes when you're clogged up. Okay, if you don't do anything else, you guess you'll have to keep taking them. But we need to also take a fiber supplement. Fiber supplement, people think of fiber cleaning you out. That's not really the fact. Fiber, what it does is strengthens the muscles. Is that you have 26 feet of intestines. You need to take something like a fiber that's going to strengthen them. Because if you just do a colonic, you didn't do anything for the muscle, and just cleaned it out. You need to become self-sufficient. You need to take fiber. Fiber is going to, what happens when you take fiber, it forces the muscle to go into its natural rhythmic motion to do what? To move the fiber along. So if it's supposed to do a certain pattern, certain type of exercise, the fiber will make it do it. Every time the fiber goes through your system, the muscle got exercised and put into a more of a rhythm called peristaltic motion, and you're better off for it. I mean, you took one step forward towards being self-sufficient. So colonic irrigation, sure. Fiber, definitely, to make yourself not relying on the colonic irrigation. One other thing is magnesium. A lot of people taking a supplement called Calm. It's a powder, something like that. Magnesium does two things I never really talked much about. One is it softens the stool by mag. It sounds like a magnet for water. Pulls water into the bowel from your other cells, and it's to soften the stool. People who have chronic constipation, it's a genetic issue. They're not doing anything wrong. It's not that you're eating anything. You can't make yourself chronically constipated unless you're programmed that way. You can make yourself sluggish by eating Big Macs every day. But chronic constipation, it's an issue with genetics. And what is that issue? This is still related to our colonic irrigation answer, is that the issue is that you don't process the mineral magnesium. There's 100-something minerals. Okay, every one of them has a receptor site in the gut. And so picture each one shaped, just for the sake of a demonstration, picture each one shaped, each doorway through the wall of the bowel. It's like a little portal, shaped like an A, a B, a C. So we're talking about all nutrients right now. A, the vitamin A would go through that A door. B, the vitamin B, all the B vitamins, all the way to Z. So there's actually 100-something for minerals. And just call one shaped like an M. That would be for magnesium. This particular person, you or anyone has a problem with constipation, chronic, it's because that little doorway is misshapen. Genetically, you inherited all these receptor sites. There's really hundreds of them, not just for the minerals. And every one of us has some of them don't work right. So if you have a problem with blood pressure, just can't get the blood pressure down. No matter what I do, I have high blood pressure, taking 3 medications, I'm drinking this and doing that, and all watching salt. It's because your P for potassium doorway isn't working right, and so you're not getting the potassium from the food out into the bloodstream because it can't get through there, and so therefore you can't control your blood pressure because that's what potassium does. And you say, nothing I can do is going to help this. Nothing works. Well, you need to take a potassium that has been pre-digested for this purpose to get through the doorway. They make like magnesium, to get back to that. There's magnesium like magnesium citrate. Well, there's also magnesium glycinate, other ones like that. Those are pre-digested. They don't need digestion by you. They'll slip through the doorway. That's why you want to look at the magnesium. You're saying, well, which one do I have here? Glycinate is one of the ones that will slip through the M doorway, even though it's not big enough, shaped right. And then you get it out to the bloodstream. It's going to go, and one thing it's going to do is soften the stool. But here's the other one I never mentioned on this broadcast or any other I can remember. It's kind of an inside secret. I'm going to give them all away. Also, the muscles of the intestines get stiff. They get hard. If you don't have enough magnesium in your body, shoulders are going to be rigid. You're going to be like, and even things like magnesium deficiency, there's a little check mark, there's a checklist. Okay, guess what? If you don't have enough magnesium, you might gnash your teeth, grind your teeth in your sleep. Okay, that's a known. Or you might have hypersensitivity to noise. You jump a lot, like, oh, something scares you. Tightness of the muscles of the bowel, which means that they're just tense like your shoulders were. And then when fiber's trying to go through or food's trying to go through there, they got to fight that tenseness. It's like, that's like sometimes the stool comes out as a ribbon. That's because you don't have enough magnesium. It's flattened down the pipe of your colon because it's gotten so tight and tense, nothing can pass through. Magnesium pulls water into the stool. It's a muscle relaxer. It's not so much of a muscle relaxer where you're going to feel really relaxed, but it's going to soften some of those submuscles, some of those muscles that are we're not really aware of that make a lot of things happen. So magnesium will loosen up the bowel muscle to move in that peristaltic motion, pull water into the bowel. So colonic irrigation, it's the least of the good things you can do. Clean yourself out, but get some magnesium, get some fiber, and if you have a chronic problem, your genetics is like a scale. There are people who only have a small genetic issue. They're able to process the magnesium somewhat. Then there's people who just not at all. They just can't get that magnesium. Even if they're taking the right kind of magnesium, they'll get some. But the ones that are on the scale of really strong genetics, they'll get to the point where they are doing really well if they take the magnesium and the fiber. If the ones who are on the scale, on the side of the scale, it's not a big deal. They don't have strong genetics. They'll be able to get them muscle trained and use magnesium only rarely, just to keep it available for the exercise from the fiber. So those are the things you need. But colonic irrigation, good, but the least of the good things. Okay.
We definitely appreciate that information, Doctor, especially the magnesium part. You reminded me that I need to continue drinking that. There's another question from the audience, Tammy. She says, when someone needs to follow up with colostrum or probiotics after antibiotics, how many should they take as an adult and as a child?
Oh, boy. Tammy, you got to watch out for Tammy. Tammy, I don't know. I'm only kidding you. Typically, first of all, there's not toxic levels for children. A child can take an adult dosage. Probiotics are totally, I'm talking about probiotics. Probiotics are totally non-toxic. Colostrum, I don't know that there's a toxic level, but we just don't go there. An adult would take, after antibiotics, a good probiotic, you take 3 a day, twice a day I should say, and 2 colostrum. That's to hustle it up, to make the repair of the mucosal lining work faster. A child, you would go with 2 a day of the probiotic and 1 a day of the colostrum. You can even open the capsule, or if it's a powder, take a smaller amount of colostrum for the child. What would ever happen if we took too much colostrum? It would be like a diarrhea event, mainly because of the lactose. If they have lactose intolerance, or if they're just throwing too much lactose in there for a small body. Not toxic in the case of doing any damage. But remember, the reason we want to do that right away, we have you all fixed up, you were bleeding, you had all this stuff, we put the mucosal lining back in, and then you take an antibiotic. It's not that we love antibiotics, in fact, it's not the end of the world. We put the good stuff back in. What would happen if you didn't? Well, maybe after 1 round of antibiotics, nothing. But after 2 or 3, you will have sufficiently or adequately, or quite to a degree, of destroyed some of that mucosal lining where you have exposure. Tissues exposed, acid starts eating it all over again. People say to me, oh, it came back. It never went away. What are you talking about, Dr. Snow? It's a disease. I say, what happened to you? Well, I took antibiotics twice because I got in a motorcycle accident or whatever. Right away, if you've taken enough of it, or some of the new, like Cipro, disaster, if you've taken Cipro, it'll wipe it out in one swoop, one pill. Then it starts eating the flesh all over again. It's not that it didn't go away, it's just that we started the cycle again. Wiped out your mucosal lining, started eating the flesh, and it looks like it didn't go away, but it did go away. So to answer Tammy, if I didn't answer clearly, that's the amount for an adult, just a little bit less for a child, and the duration would be minimum 2 weeks, and I'd like to see it be 4 weeks. Then you go back. If you're going to take it, you go back to a minimal dose of 1 capsule twice a day until you feel you're healed. If you feel you're healed, or if you were healed before you even took that round of antibiotics, there's no need to take any of it. This bugs me when people are selling a probiotic and they're selling it with the idea you have to take it for the rest of your life. If you do it right, and here's another thing I want to express that pisses me off, is that people are told the wrong information, they're sold the wrong stuff. Prebiotics. Oh, I'm taking a prebiotic. I say, what's a prebiotic? Prebiotic that they're buying, like at vitamin shop, is always some kind of like a carbohydrate. It could even be a sugar, could be kind of a leaf or stalk of a plant. It's just a carbohydrate, which is sugar. They're assuming that that's a prebiotic. No, the only prebiotic there ever is colostrum. Think about it. Pre-milk, it's the child is born. There's no accident that after taking a breath, the very, very first thing it's supposed to do is get the colostrum. Doesn't show up a week later. It's not optional. It's there, ready to go now. That says a lot about it, and that's the prebiotic, because it's the sticky stuff that sticks to the lining of the gut. Here comes the probiotic in the breast milk, and sticks to that colostrum, becomes residential. That's the word, residential. It sticks and makes it permanent, and you only have to take the probiotic and colostrum for until you're healed if you have symptoms. But if you're doing it as a maintenance, once in a while, maybe twice a year, because the antibiotics are in the environment and they chip away a little bit in swimming pool, bathing water, chip away a little bit, you take twice a year, you take a minimum dose. But just for that reason, and you didn't take antibiotics, you want to rebuild what might have get broken down a little bit during the year, you take 2 capsules of probiotic, 1 capsule of colostrum, just for a couple of weeks. But prebiotics, the ones they're selling in the stores called prebiotic, they're bullshit, because all they are is some kind of sugar or carbohydrate. And tell you one more thing about that, bringing back some memories of what we used to do. If you take a probiotic and you put it in some applesauce and you put it in the refrigerator overnight, say there were 10 billion bacteria in that, what you put in there, a couple capsules, by the morning it will be double that, because it did use the sugar as food to grow. Some people keep a thing of applesauce or something similar, and they just keep on refilling it. And the family goes in there and takes a scoop every day. Applesauce will generate, but it's not a prebiotic. The prebiotic that we're talking about is something that will stick to the lining of the gut and make that permanent. The sugar form of it only helps propagate it. It's a good thing. It's like a super fertilizer, but it's not what is really a prebiotic. So when people tell me they're taking something from GNC, I say bullshit. Is it colostrum? No, then it's not a prebiotic. It's just a fertilizer. Not a bad thing to take, but don't have the illusion that you're making it stick. The whole idea is to make it stick, and then you don't need me. You don't need the probiotic. And if you ever run into an antibiotic, the rule is probiotic and colostrum, and then you can forget about it. Maybe if you want to do maintenance, twice a year. Okay, Tammy, how's that, Tammy?
Perfect. We'll wait for her comment, but as far as that all makes sense. And there is someone else that asked this question: how does one know when you are cured and when we could eat anything and everything? That's a good.
One of my patients, I'm sure, she's saying, when are you going to let me eat the cashews? Okay, I just had a conversation an hour ago. Is that we bring you to the point where you have no symptoms. Hallelujah. We're taking supplements and no drug, and we have no symptoms. So we start to then take away the supplements one by one. While we're doing that, we add foods. Okay, start adding, say, what do you want to eat? That's what I always say. Then, what do you want to eat? Okay, let's eat a small portion of that. Okay, so we're taking away the supplements one by one. How do we do that, by the way? That's a good thing to mention. When I tell you I think you're healed, I'll say take the supplements, and when you run out of each one at a time, just don't replace it. Just say, okay, I'm done with that one, throw the bottle away. But you watch what happens. Geez, I'm not taking the colostrum anymore because I ran out. That's a kind of really organic way to do it. It's that as you run out, you don't replace it, and you make a note. Okay, stop this, and what happens afterwards? Okay, if we do that, and we've introduced some foods, really safe ones normally, in small dosage, then we go a little bit more into the foods. We say, okay, what do you want to eat full course meal of? What would you want to have other than a few nibbles? And we eat it and we watch. Usually it goes like this. Get you symptom free. Look for a month of no symptoms while we are integrating small amounts of semi-safe foods. Give me a month of that, everything's cool. Let's go eat some pizza. Whatever we want. And we do it, and we just see what happens. And we're at that point, I tell people, don't hold back. Eat the whole pizza. We want to know. We want to know if you can have it or not. And that's when we declare you healed. Is when you can eat the pizza with the anchovies and whatever you want. Okay?
Well, we definitely can't wait for that day. Can you please explain, says Bernard, can you please explain why my 24-year-old daughter, who has had Crohn's since she was 8, now has joint pain? She's on Stelara, and he can't wait until she makes her appointment with you, doctor.
Okay. Well, that's the pain that goes with when, again, we talk about Crohn's. I say they're all not an immune disease, but we can use the word Crohn's. They use IBD, which is not accurate because D is not a disease. Crohn's is an inflammatory bowel at a higher rate, meaning they have more tissue that's inflamed. I don't use that term, they do. She does, she has Crohn's. So she has nerves, every nerve in the body travels through the intestines. So wherever the acid decide to eat a hole, which is basically wherever the mucosal lining get scraped away and no coverage, left side, right side, up or down. If there are nerves going through there, and if a nerve that's connected to the joints is being inflamed because of the location, it'll heat up that wire, that nerve, and it'll cause inflammation of the joint. And we think of arthritis, and we think of that as older, and does she have rheumatoid arthritis? And I will tell you that a very high percentage of the time, especially with younger people, we when we fix the Crohn's, the pain goes away. So how do we know if the Crohn's is fixed? Is it done? Well, when I treat you, I'm assuming the pain, if she's 20 years old, I assume the pain is from the Crohn's. And so we tweak it until we find an improvement. I call it shuffling the deck. It's not guessing, but it's using what I've used in the past. My experiences say, try this, try that. Up the dose, lower the dose. So we're jumping around with a lot of really intense, heavily moderated shuffling the deck, changing the supplements. So what we would do with her is we would confirm, are there no GI problems? Or, and secondarily, is she on a drug for this? And if not, we just treat her as if she has inflammatory bowel disease with a focus on watching the nerves, the joints. That I was going to say something else about that. I think I told the story last week. I'll make it short. A guy couldn't move his hands. He was a concert pianist. A younger guy. Father was real negative. Dentist said nothing's going to work. Nothing's going to work. I was fighting the father half the time, calling me, swearing at each other, and he told me, no way, no way. We got him so he didn't have any GI problems. I said, I told you that they might help your hands. He said, nope, sorry, no hands. He said, try to keep going. I said, well, I think it's related. The hands are related. Keep going with at least a maintenance dose. Bumped into the guy. It might have been 5 years ago. Later, and I didn't recognize it at first. He shook my hand. He was squeezing the hell out of my hand. So what the heck are you doing? He said, I'm the guy that my father's a dentist. So I said, oh, the hand seems pretty good. So I'm back and playing the piano. He had to retire at 35 or 40. Cleveland Philharmonic Orchestra. So in that case, it worked. So I'd like to speak to you about your daughter. See if we can help her.
Interesting. Very, very interesting.
By the way, I want to add one thing to it. These conditions will not go away until you replace that mucosal lining. I've been in the habit of saying this recently with my patients. Where do you live? And they say, Portland. This just happened with a guy in Portland. I said, well, this condition is so rampant that around Portland, the counties around Portland, there's at least 10,000 other people who have Crohn's or whatever, and they're sitting in a doctor's office scared, waiting for the same mumbo jumbo nothingness they're going to get from the doctor other than a prescription. Oh, I'm going to try a different drug. The story that I tell people is that I first of all say, you're totally screwed. I said, don't listen to this part of my sentence. Don't listen to what I'm saying. Cover your ears. Don't listen to it. But I'm telling you right now, you're totally fucked. Meaning that you don't have a chance. Your life is going to suck. Okay, I'm glad you didn't listen to that because it's not true anymore. That changed for you 2 minutes ago when you called me. One person, so 10,000 people around the Portland area, this is true. I don't know if the number's accurate, but this is true. One person is going to have a wonderful life. 9,999, their life is going to suck. How many people am I going to reach? One in Portland? Two? Well, that's going to change with what I'm offering on this website that you see, the Holistic Gastroenterology website. That's going to go out now to people around the world. That's what I've been doing. One of the reasons I'm so busy is I'm building this thing where my gift, I hope it is a gift that has value, is that I know how to fix these things. I'm not going to be in Portland. Not everybody's going to go on the internet and find me. 10 people a day are going to call me. So now what I have to offer is I have everything I know is in this website. It contains everything I could tell you. I could talk to you for 3 years and say something new every day. It's in that protocol, Holistic Gastroenterology. And what it does, it gives you the protocol how to fix IBS. With every possible question you can ask me, I have the answer. 'Cause I've heard it so many times, 40 years. So that's what I want to focus on, the fact that these things do not just go away. The best you could get from a doctor is to be on drugs the rest of your life, to have an 8-year-old kid on an immune suppressant drug the rest of your life. And I promise you, it is true. If you don't replace the mucosal lining, forget it. A woman told me, I hope she's listening, acupuncture. It helped with the internal hemorrhoids. I said, well, okay, but let's not mix up words. Helped. Did they come back? Yes. We're talking about taking no prisoners. We're talking about getting the effing thing fixed and complete and done. That's different than anybody else I know. And I'm telling you, if you don't do my protocol, don't bother doing anything. If you don't replace the mucosal lining, if there's some guy over here in Akron, Ohio, and he's kicking butt and getting it all done, everybody's getting healed, I can guarantee you one thing. He's replacing people's mucosal lining. It makes sense. I, for years, have been telling people, I had a radio show for years. I said, call me up and blow holes in it. Tell me where I'm wrong. One thing, we'll get educated. We'll learn. Oh, I didn't know about that. Let's fix it. But there is no holes in it. It's the mucosal lining. That's why I said on the Facebook recently, I said, just do the effing program. I'm on there. I see people say, well, after a week into it, now I'm taking oregano oil, and now, I stopped taking this, and I'm eating nothing but toast. I mean, that's not doing the effing program. The protocol. I promise you, if you do the protocol, it'll work. There was a girl, Amber. She said it very well. She wrote a testimonial on Facebook, and she said, don't give up on the protocol. I had a conversation with a person today. They said, well, I thought you said 3 or 4 months. I said, well, I maybe shouldn't have said anything. You set up expectations. You're doing much better, but you still have some bleeding. Does that mean we failed? Oh, a guy was from Australia early this morning. I'll say his first name, Kit. Cool guy. I'd like to go out and have some beer with him sometime. But Kit, and I hope you don't mind saying your name, buddy. He was kind of down because he wasn't healed. He was talking about going to chug oregano oil and he's going to do something. He's going to go on the drug. I said, you can go on the drug. But you got to remember, you got to be willing to fight the doctor to get off the drug. So if I say 4 or 5 months, 3 or 4 months, that's an amazing job if I get it right. That's like, wow, maybe I really have a crystal ball. Why do I charge my fee once? Because I have a tremendous amount of confidence I'm going to get you fixed early on. Doesn't happen every time. So have expectations of getting healed. But no, if you don't do the mucosal lining, not a chance, 0. If you do it, it's going to be around the time I say. And if it isn't immediately, it's going to be shortly after that. And I'm with you until you get it healed. That protocol that I have on holisticgastroenterology.com tells you how to deal with it if you are running late getting healed. Everybody gets healed. That's my motto. Everybody gets healed. Sorry I went off on a rant there, but I had to. Okay?
No, we love this information. We appreciate the confidence that you instill in us, because we lose confidence when we go to our doctors.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's fixing the mucosal lining. It's absolutely valid.
What did you say to me, Italo, after our first appointment? Sorry, after our first appointment with you and me? Do you remember what you said? And you've said it a couple of times since then. You said it's like weight off your shoulders.
Yeah.
Weight off your shoulders. You actually showed you said, off my shoulders, and that's what it is. First of all, you have to hear something that makes sense. You have to have something. You have to get confidence by. I read the guy's little book. Okay, I'm hearing the protocol. I'm hearing the whole story. I can understand it. It makes sense. It's logical. I'd say that at least 9 out of 10 people say it makes sense. It's just so logical. It sounds so simple. You have to start there, and then you go through the process and do the process. But you have to start with something that makes sense, that you understand. All right. Sorry, I keep interrupting you. What kind of questions we have?
I love the information you're giving. Never apologize, because we want to only absorb information. All right. So let's. We got another question from our audience. He says, "Does and again, this is going to be a hard word for me to say. It's a medical word. Does Saccharomyces Bilardii cure the urgency of going to the bathroom and loose stools? You told me to keep adding 1 a day until the problem is resolved, but I'm up to 12 a day."
Okay. Well, okay. I got to correct that. Well, the quantity. I'll address that too. Saccharomyces Bilardii is a yeast. It's technically a probiotic. It was discovered, I think, in India in 19th century, and they were originally using it to something to do with wine fermentation. And someone said, "Hey, this stuff can help animals," and they were using it as a veterinary product. What's it do? It's a bacteria that goes in and controls the water, so that you don't have an overflow of water. It acts like a sponge, and we want water in the bowel so that we don't have acid destroying us, but we don't want too much. So what's it do? You take it, and it's going to make the stool firmer by being a super sponge. It doesn't cure it. It needs to be part of the community. You're living in you as a garden. Got all kinds of stuff in there, stuff we think's bad. Living in there's weeds, and there's bacteria, and zillions of different kinds of bacteria, and everything living. And things we call parasites, they're there too. We need those. Those are like see a worm in the soil. That's bad. No, the worm is actually converting the soil to be something the plant can use. So people drive me crazy saying, "I got full of parasites," or "I did a test out of Great Smoky Mountains and it said, oh, I got parasites." Bullshit. You got good stuff floating in there that they call parasites. So Saccharomyces Bilardii needs to be part of the community living in there to play that role. If you go to Mexico and drink the water and you get too much, your bowel movements are just practically water, you would take Bilardii to kind of soak some of that up as a one-time deal. We're back home, everything's cool. If you have inflammatory bowel disease, again, I should caught myself there, conditions, you use it while we are fixing it. What actually fixes it? What actually does it so you don't produce excess water, have diarrhea? The other supplements. So we use the Bilardii up front. We say, you know what, you got to leave the house. You got to get out of the house. You got to do things. Take some Bilardii. And here's how we do it. Now, 12 is too many. I should have made that more clear. The limit we want is 4, only because 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is diminishing returns. And you're spending money taking pills. And we say, well, 4 doesn't come close to doing it. That means we have to adjust the other supplements. So the plan is this. Start with 1. And never mind, by the way, what it says on labels. Follow what I say. When they put something on a label, it's just a general statement. Someone's trying to call me here. A general statement that isn't designed for anybody. Sometimes the FDA makes them put something on there. So say I take 1 twice a day, and they always say, or consult with your doctor. So my rules for that, or my instructions for that, are take 1 and wait around and see what happens over 24 hours. Oops, nothing changed, still got the diarrhea. Take 2, watch what happens. Not much better, maybe a little bit. Next day, take 3, climbing a ladder. Go up to 4 if needed, and you know what, you can do 5. It's not going to hurt you anyway, but 12, what that says is that we need to up the dosage of the other supplements. So I would ask this person to either ask a follow-up question about, or call me about what they're taking, how to increase the dosage, and it would be something like, oh, we're taking 2 probiotic a day, take 4. Taking 1 colostrum twice a day, take 2 twice a day. It's just it's all incremental. I'm not doing any. A lot of it, I'm not doing any calculation. It's that with this, it's 4 of them. Let me adjust the dosages on the other supplements, because they're the ones that are putting the mucosal lining in and repairing the tissue. Okay.
That makes total sense. We've got lots of questions today, Doctor. I think you're sparking lots of interest with this information, because
we hear
so many different things.
You know what they're going to do? I tell them. You know what's happening? They all want to yell at me because I didn't tell them that colostrum would put weight on. So they're all mad at me. They're saying I thought it was bloated, and you kept telling me take more colostrum. So that's what they're doing. They're lining up to yell at me. I get yelled at in every language now by the day. I got yelled at by a guy from where is he from? Turkey or something. I didn't have idea what he was talking about. I knew he was yelling at me, swearing at me. So go ahead. Let's take some more questions. Let's take some more questions.
All right, let's take some more questions. So we got another one. Any tips for managing stress for someone who is on your protocol? For example, a child that's doing some important exams at school.
I know where that's from. I know that's from the UK, I think.
Yes, that's Mandy.
Yeah, Mandy. I know it, Mandy. Hi, Mandy. She's one of my favorites. And we have to get her son healed. He's close. Nice kid. It's not about the stress other than she's worried that he's got these important exams. And if he's not right, he might have to rush to the bathroom and all that. I understand that. Stress, I'm not an expert in managing stress, so I'm not going to be able to answer that part of it. I'm going to just make a comment about stress. It only aggravates a pre-existing condition so that it does not cause the problem. On your own, Mandy, you're going to have to work out how to deal with stress for him. I don't have an honest answer because that's not my thing. Other than he might want to talk to me once in a while himself, versus through just mom. But I know you're on top of it. I have never had. By the way, Mandy, let me tell you about Mandy. Fastest trigger in the Western Hemisphere, maybe the world. If you send her a text, you get an answer before you even sent the text. She lives with her finger on the button on the WhatsApp button. When she's sleeping, it's on the button. I send her a message any time of the day. Boom, it's an answer. So you're doing everything, Mandy. I can't answer you about the stress, but we're coming down the home stretch with him, and I anticipate we're going to be celebrating pretty soon. Okay.
That's definitely amazing that she's how you can be all across the world and just get information right away. I mean,
me and Mandy exchange information.
Incredible.
We exchange information at all hours of the day. She's a mother. She's always telling me, "Go to sleep. You got to get your sleep." And I'm saying, "Well, Mandy, I wouldn't be able to take care of your boy. I know how much this means to Mandy. I get emotionally involved, and she's such a sweet woman that we're going to get her son healed and off and running. He's a young guy that needs to be doing other things. So enough of that.
He will make it out of this.
Enough of that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We've got more questions, doctors. Is it okay to take some more questions?
I'm going to try to talk faster so we can get them all in.
Okay, sounds good. So let's see. We've got would a raw colostrum be more effective than a pasteurized product? And what is your opinion of soil-based probiotics?
Oh, good questions. That sounds like a Tammy question.
This is from Barry.
Okay, from who?
Barry.
Okay.
Barry Truth.
Oh, good. Colostrum is not a live product that requires, to be not... well, they do make it unpasteurized. I guess anything, I'm going to back off of that. Anything pasteurized exposes it to heat, and it's going to kill off any biological activity in there. So if you can get unpasteurized, you're always better. And you always want the milk. They say 3-hour colostrum, 4-hour colostrum. The closer time it was milked from the mother. This is bovine colostrum. Supposedly is the best. So if it's a 3-hour milked, 6-hour milked. By the way, New Zealand might have the best colostrum. Canada's next. U.S. has got some good colostrum. What was the second part of the question, Italo?
Yeah, the second part of the question was, what is your opinion of soil-based probiotics?
So just to finish up, yes, closer to less number of hours of colostrum. If you can get it unpasteurized. I know some crazy people out there. Survival, Surth, Vival. Bunch of like crazy hippie type dudes. They're out there making the best colostrum there is. I think it comes in a bucket or something, or a barrel. And that's wild stuff. I know those guys pretty well. They may not be hippies anymore, but when I met them a long time ago, they seem like it's survival. Look it up. Soil-based organisms. Okay, the difference is soil-based is not residential. They don't live in you. Okay, they go in your system. They're like day workers. They come in, tune things up, do some good things, fix that a little bit, and leave. It's like 9 to 5. They go in and do some stuff and leave. They don't live in you. They don't relate to colostrum. They don't adhere to colostrum. I haven't seen a lot of valuable stuff from them because I don't deal with them. I deal with the residential, where we want the lactobacillus and bifidus and those to live in us. So I've taken soil-based organisms. Jordan Rubin, who has Garden of Life supplements, he's big on them, but I don't know how valuable they are. I don't think they're going to blow our socks off. I don't think they're going to be like ass-kicking, life-changing, just like I don't believe kombucha is going to do that, and kefir and all that stuff. It has value, but I'm only going for what I do for a living. I have to go for the bullseye. I have to go for like stuff that's going to kick butt. And so my comment about soil-based would be, from what I know of it, nice thing to take. Don't expect too much out of it. Okay.
I like how you work thinking only in exceptional terms, that's why the protocol feels like it's very effective. I've only been in it for a couple of weeks now, but I can't wait to get to the other side. It is very promising.
I have to be very aggressive in the supplements I take. I can't take stuff that's borderline. It's got to prove to me that it's going to do its thing, and then we have a tool we can use.
Perfect. So let's see. We've got another question here. How does stress aggravate the gut and drive symptoms? Many people seem to think that stress causes UC, Crohn's, etc.
Right.
This is from Daniel.
It doesn't. I think Danny. Is it Danielle or Danny?
Daniel Hartman.
Danny, I knew it. He's one of my favorite guys. Danny.
Oh.
Cool guy. Everyone should know Danny. Okay, a lot of people think that, but it doesn't. It doesn't cause it stress. It aggravates. And how does it aggravate it? Well, one way is that when we're talking about inflammatory bowel, naturally when we have stress, anxiety, we release extra acids. Why do we release extra acids? And not just digestive acids. They're the type of acids that are in our cells. Because if we're under stress, fight or flight, it looks at situations maybe lethal. Is there something in our system that's going to poison us? Is there some thing or person that's threatening us? One of the things it does is it sends out all kinds of toxic chemicals that are like adrenaline. They're offshoots of adrenaline to kill off something, if we're talking about physiologically. And if you have exposed tissue, doesn't have the mucosal lining over it, there's no insulation. And then the acids are just like you ate something. And you have that, if you're revving at a high level, some people are high strung. You have an inflammatory bowel condition where there's lack of mucosal lining, you're constantly just dousing your tissue with some type of toxic enzyme. That's how germs are killed in the body, by eating them. We histamines are a type of acid. Keyword is like acid, digestive acid. They digest germs. In the process of doing that, they can irritate surrounding tissue. So if you have constant stress irritation, maybe because you're thinking about your GI condition, you're constantly going to be aggravating tissue that's exposed. Once you get healed, we can stress you out. We'll do a test, Danny. We'll stress you out. All of you, we're just going to stress you out once you're healed, and we'll say, how's that gut? And it's good. No problem, because we have the tissue covered. There's no like internal mechanism that it's the stress, and everyone's looking for the answer. What's driving me crazy? I've been doing replacing my mucosal lining. I can promise you, stress will aggravate but not cause it. Okay.
That definitely answers the question. And we've got another one from BB. The doctors know you had asked a few quick questions in Facebook, but you didn't give us an answer. So could you please answer the questions? Why do we take our supplements at least half an hour before or after meals? Why are digestive enzymes perhaps the only supplements that can harm you? and what food is at the top of the food pyramid in every slot. If you want, we can break it down into three, right?
Yeah. What's that first one? Why do we take the food at different time? At half hour, at least half hour. Okay.
Yeah, before or after meals.
Right. It could be before or after. It doesn't matter. We don't want to take our food, our supplements right with our food because of those portals, those receptor sites. If it's just like driving up to maybe a gas station when there's a gas shortage, there's going to be miles of people waiting to get to the pump. Well, when you eat a meal, there's all that food and all those nutrients are just taking up room at the portals. And here comes the supplement. It's like, well, I want to get in there too, but it's hard. And then when it doesn't, it'll get washed away. There's a timetable inside, like a conveyor belt inside of our gut. Things are supposed to move along. It doesn't want something to hang around a certain lot more than 45 seconds. Then it moves along, another spot might be 10 seconds. So if it doesn't get absorbed right away through the portal, it's going to get washed away. It's thrown up into urine. Your urine will look purple or pink or whatever, orange. So it's timing because of the portals being tied up. And another thing, some people like today thought, oh, it's got to be 30 minutes because they said, I apologize, we took them at 2 days in a row, like 2 minutes later. And I said, well, it can be 35 minutes, 65 minutes, 72 minutes. It doesn't matter, just not directly with the food. That's contrary to everybody. When this industry started years ago, they call them nutritional supplements, and I found out that they're food on themselves. They're food themselves. They're not just supplements. They are the food. And so we don't want to give them a chance to get maximum absorption. What was the other questions?
Yeah, the second question I'm curious about too now, because I wasn't sure of this, but he says, why are digestive enzymes perhaps the only supplement that can harm you?
And probably the only supplement I've never prescribed. If I have prescribed it, it was very rare. Here's why. You have a compromised GI tract, and again, I always say mucosal lining. I get sick of hearing it, but that's what it's about. And say you don't have enough of that, and you're trying to figure out, I got to fix my gastrointestinal problem. Man, I'll take digestive enzymes. Well, the problem you're having at the moment is acid is eating away at your flesh, and we take digestive enzymes, which in other words, digestive acids, which are reflective of what you're secreting already that's eating your stomach or bowel. So we take that, we're taking the exact wrong thing. Because they're acids, and they're going to eat. I say to people, you want to dig a hole in your bowel faster? Take some digestive acids. And you really want to do it fast? Take HCl. Okay, that's a hydrochloric acid. And if you want to take really fast, the old school digestive enzymes are like bombs. They have stuff like ox bile. Imagine taking a pill that has ox bile in it. Don't take those. If you take any type of digestive enzyme, take a plant-based one. But the answer is to replace the mucosal lining, block all the stomach acids, and the mucosal lining is also a computer software. Every food has a code. This is how you really digest things. You tune up your software. Every food has a code. Just like typing into the computer A, B, C, D, every key has a code. Software recognizes it, organizes it. There's an email. Okay? When you download information in the form of food, the software is supposed to recognize, oh, you're a banana, you're a tomato, and recognize the quantity. Send the signal over to the hardware. The hardware is these little parietal cells that secrete acids. It tells you what enzyme we need, like puts in an order. Hey, guy just swallowed a banana split. Oh, wow. Cherry too? Yeah, cherry too. Nuts? Yep. Okay, boom. Sends a signal to send out enzymes for that code that they just read, and then it digests. When you're bloated, your software's not working right. And everyone I've ever treated is bloated. I'm not picking on you, women, but it's just the reality. I think some of it they just don't like their waistline. But that's the proper way to digest things. Third question there, please.
Third question is, what food is at the top of the food pyramid in every slot?
In every what?
In every slot.
The top food.
So what food is at the top pyramid in every slot? I think he's referring to there's like three slots, right? Like there's one with the dairies, and there's one with the breads and all that.
Well, we have to perpetuate our joke as the Twinkies. Twinkies, love because they have no fiber. So my food pyramid is all Twinkies. You see them, they say dairy, and then down below it's poultry and grains. Our food pyramid is Twinkies. But in reality, the top foods are, let me think if there's one that I want to separate as top. I will tell you this, a subject I've been fascinated with is there's a substance called spirulina is the number one thing you should put in the body along with probiotics. They are designed, if you want to put a bomb in your body that's going to like accelerate your perfection, it's probiotic and spirulina and trace minerals. There's a company that Trace Mineral Research, they're the only ones in the world that have all the trace minerals in it. There's like 100 something, and they're only allowed to say the 72 because FDA has never researched the other ones. They're in there and they're magical. They generate bioelectricity. They're like conductors. Spirulina was the first thing along with the probiotic on this planet. Now my theory is that a rock landed on this planet. And it's off of it spilled a bunch of probiotic bacteria. I mean, they're way older than our planet. But to get to the answer is that those are the things in terms of perfecting the human form, because you'll start to produce hormones that your body, like happy hormones. If you're depressed, spirulina. It's going to turn on circuits. You see, you have circuits in your brain. There's a code. It has to have a code. It's just like, anything else, you have to write password. Okay? Spirulina is the password for the happy circuits in the brain. And if you attach it to, getting a little bit off subject here, but if you attach it to spirulina and probiotic and throw a little bit of trace mineral in there, you'll start producing hormones that the body doesn't, it has the capacity to do. Because we're not supplying it with what it needs, it doesn't produce them. And the brain, those are happy hormones. You do that, you walk around with a smile on your face. People get sick of it. Yeah, I have a whole thing about that, and it ties in with hallucinogenics and how they work. But if you put in the right stuff, you'll develop a level of functioning that you weren't aware it was possible. And they do blood work. They start finding hormones in there that didn't know existed. So to answer the question about food is not that important. I don't know if I have anybody at the top of the pyramid. People worry about, well, dairy and gluten must be down the bottom, only because they can't process them. I'm trying to think if I have a really good answer for that, because I don't pay that much attention to food because it's secondary importance. It's having the software work properly. I wouldn't say it's protein. I wouldn't say it's carbohydrate. I wouldn't say it's fat. It's all three of those if we're talking about the three major parts of the food group. I don't have one favorite over the other in terms of what I think is more valuable. So I say this. Instead of thinking it that way, think about having your software perfected. Perfect that software, and then you can process anything at the highest level. Another thought about that. You're taking all these healthy herbs, but you haven't perfected your software. You're only going to digest what you can digest. The software needs a tune-up. You got the 1980 model in there. You need to tune you up, 2021, and that the world is changing. All kinds of doing things to the grains and the air. We need to combat that by changing our software, updating it, saying, oh, you know what, they're putting all these chemicals in the wheat, and they're doing this over here to soybeans. Oh yeah, we have an answer for that. We up our game by putting these really smart microbiome generated, these research centers. They have all the answers for that. Go online, look at these microbiome. I don't deal with a lot of that because they're talking about, hey, here's the other one. I'm sorry, jumping around, not finishing sentences. That stuff, I don't remember the name, but Dr. Bush's stuff, they call it Renew. Last it was changed. That's magical stuff. If we're going to talk about what's important food-wise, I'm going to push that aside. I'm going to say, get that new stuff, Renew, and Tammy out there knows what I'm talking about. She told me the name of it, Biome something. Ion, Biome. Look at that stuff. I told somebody earlier today, I thought I was the man. I know everything about this. I'm the man. And then I dumped up to Dr. Bush. I said, you're going to be kidding me. I felt like Eric Clapton, when he heard Jimi Hendrix play, he was crestfallen because he realized, I'm nowhere near that guy. Jimi Hendrix, well, I know a lot maybe that Dr. Bush doesn't know, But he found the top of the pyramid with his Renew Life, it used to be called. Look it up, Dr. Bush. He's got a lot of videos. You'll see the name of his part. I need to go back. You're all probably online googling it already. Tammy knows. She'll put it on the Facebook. That's what we should be talking about. Those things are foods. I'm not worried about starches and proteins and stuff like that. Okay.
Yes, I remember the ion biome that you discussed last week, and the name was given on the talk. There is another.
Let me make a
go ahead,
before I
sorry.
go to the last one. I keep on talking over you, but I want to make another comment. Blew my mind. There was a company called New Chapter. Okay, they were the first ones to make giant vats of highly advanced probiotics. They took the plants. They had a farm down in Costa Rica, organic. They dumped the plants into the probiotic. You know what happened? Probiotics are so smart. They rearrange the molecular structure. So if a raspberry leaf, which is one of the ones they used, has a certain amount of vitamin C in it, the probiotic would rearrange the molecular structure, basically digest it, and they take that leaf out, it would have like 10 times as much vitamin C. All they did was rearrange it like a Rubik's Cube. They just changed it, and that's what happens when you take the right kind of probiotics. You can swallow some crap, some shit, like trans fatty acids. It will rearrange some molecular structure, and now you have really high quality fatty acids. That's the value that people don't understand. When you get the right strains of bacteria, you take Dr. Bush's stuff, you throw that in there, now you're going to be functioning. You take my spirulina stuff and all that, now you're talking. So I'm sorry, someone else had another question. We might have to run a little late today. Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, that's fine. We've got one from Delia. My family has a history of UC.
Yeah.
Is this something that gets passed down from the mother's microbiome in utero? And if so, any tips on how to keep my 14-year-old's gut as healthy as possible?
Okay, my version of the story is this: that we don't inherit this, we inherit the environment. We inherit the environment. You say, Ma, Pa, Uncle Joe, they all had it. Well, one thing they definitely had was antibiotics, at least in the environment. I'm not a believer that it's genetic. I've never seen evidence of it. How do I know that? Because we fixed the problem. If it was a genetic thing that was unfixable, we wouldn't get anywhere. We'd say, well, and we fix them one by one. So I believe it's I call it acquired inflammatory bowel. I not only say I believe, I know it is. And so how do we prevent this? Well, again, I'm going to tell you it's not really a genetic, but just say it was, and just say it's also what I said about the environment. You give them some probiotic and colostrum. Don't have to give it to them every day, twice a year for a month. For anybody. Twice a year for a month. If there's any antibiotics taken, you'll follow right up after the antibiotic is done, and you take them. And there's nothing else you need to do. So that's my answer.
Fantastic. Doctor, we've got lots of questions. I'm wondering if you want to wrap up the session, or you want to take on more questions.
Keep going.
We can, Tammy says she can write down everything and bring it up for next week.
Well, let's go for a while. Keep going for a while. This is
okay, fantastic.
This is great.
So, we've got BD. He's asking a valid question. He says, while being on Dr. Snow's protocol with the hope of replacing mucosal lining, would there be a possibility where the condition can progress towards strictures and scar tissues?
Well, okay, so the answer would be if you have momentum going that way. You're in rough shape. You come to me, I say, I can fix that. And I don't know how rough shape you're in, and I don't know because I don't look inside of you until we see does the person progress. It would only be possible at the beginning. Say you had enough momentum, there's a real fire in there. Those things were already started to develop. And how fast can we get the mucosal lining set up? And how fast can we get some nutrients in there to give the tissue more integrity, stand up against the fire? So it isn't possible, like long-term, like, a year later he started developing structures of scar tissue. It's only what was happening when we started. We didn't get in there soon enough.
Makes sense. My son had many antibiotics for ear infections when he was an infant toddler. So do you advise taking colostrum along with probiotics, even if this was more than 2 years ago?
Yes.
He doesn't have any conditions.
Yes. Okay, good question. I like that one. it clarifies something. Is any antibiotic is not toxic. It doesn't like hang around in your system like, oh, I took them, they're still there. No, it leaves your system, but the problem is it takes some of your anatomy with it. It's the only drug I know that does that. So you're 2 years old, you had a nice thick mucosal lining because mom breastfed you. Talked to a woman today that husband has the problem and they just had twins. She's nursing twins. I said, either get a third breast or I told the husband, I said, nuzzle your way in there. Just push them aside for a couple minutes. Take a few gulps of the colostrum. But it takes away some of the probiotic and makes it thinner. So say you had a half-inch thick layer and then you took an antibiotic when you were 2, 10, 15, whatever, took a bunch of them, it thins it out and it doesn't grow back. So you wouldn't be able to make the connection between you had the antibiotic when you were 2 and you've got inflammatory bowel now. Because what happened was you're not going to be able to correlate those. No one even told you to. And but you had them a couple of times. I haven't had a lot of antibiotics. Well, you don't even know what the effects of the ones you had. So it's about stealing some of your anatomy, and it could have happened at any age. And then what happens is it can take a while for the acid to penetrate through and eat the tissue. Remember, when you show up with blood in your stool, that hole was being eaten there for months before you knew it. It took a while for it to go from the surface of the bowel through a layer of skin, layer of fat, bumps into a blood vessel, maybe a little time to get through the blood vessel wall. All a blood vessel is the colon, just a skinny one. It moves red water around, or actually blue. So by the time you see it, it's been there for a while, been eating. And so to answer the question is that you can have that from antibiotic from an early age and shows up as a contributor to the problem as an adult or a mature child.
Perfect. And I know that you've answered this earlier today, but just to remind the audience, and for those that are tuning in, what would be the dose that you would advise for a kid, let's say 5 years old of age, in case that he has to have antibiotics?
Well, after the antibiotic, another thing, I know what the answer I'm going to give, but you got to remember, if you listen to me over a long period of time, I might give 2 slightly different answers because it's just not like a drug where you have to be precise. Sometimes I'll say give the kid 2, sometimes give the kid 3. The standard answer is 2 probiotic and 1 colostrum twice a day. And usually do that for a couple of weeks, preferably a month. But, one of the reasons I went into this kind of medicine is it doesn't have to be precise. I've sent somebody an email and they say, I didn't get it. I'll send them another one. They say, oh, I got it, but the second one's different. I go, well, it's not radically different, but it's about putting stuff in there. Learned it from my Italian grandmother. I said, how much of this in there? She goes, just throw some in there. And I go, how much salt? She goes, just throw some in there. Well, in a way, it's like that with natural stuff. The thing about do no harm. Well, natural medicine you can't, unless you load them up, unless you're a fool and load them up on digestive enzymes.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Can the protocol help depression and anxiety, also as the brain and body are connected? This is what Vanessa is asking.
Are they connected, or what? I'll just comment on that. You got the brain.
Yeah.
You got the brain-gut connection that is written a lot about. I don't pay any attention to it. I believe in it, but I don't pay much attention because it doesn't affect what I do. I do find that when we just like that person with the arthritic hands, I do find that when we fix the GI issue, depression and anxiety oftentimes stops. How often? 30%? Maybe that's a lot. But if we take if someone says to me, yeah, man, I'm really depressed, I know it's a separate thing. I'll say, if you want to be adventurous, get some spirulina, probiotic, and trace minerals. They come in a liquid, the trace minerals. That'll take care of it. You won't be depressed after that.
That makes sense. Tammy says something interesting here. She says, forget the 3 to 4 month timeline. I'm going over 3 years. I don't know, doctor. I feel like once you're healed, you might want to, at least to me as a patient, I feel like I want to keep taking colostrum, taking probiotics. That shouldn't be an issue, right?
Is that from you or from Tammy? That statement, that part of the statement is
She made a statement that she says, I'm going on over 3 years. Right. Says, forget the 3 to 4 month timeline.
Right. Well, your Tammy needs to also tell us how she's doing like 95% better, too. So she's doing great, just not finished the job. Hey, I get emotional about every one of these. So to answer her question, she already knows. I talk to her on a regular basis. Smart girl. Um, she knows that sometimes it takes longer. She's one of the unfortunate ones. We got her close, and at times I think she's even said she's been symptom free. But sometimes I think I should not give anybody any timeline. I might stop that, because they get heartbroken if they're not healed. My friend Danny, I talk to communicate with Danny all the time. I tell him, oh, maybe next month. It hasn't happened yet. So it's not just a matter of me being Mr. Positive Thinking. It's what I really think. So Tammy, all I can tell you is that we're going to keep doing it. I'm glad you're so much better, but we'll get it fixed. Everybody gets fixed. So.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And everybody is different. So I would imagine.
There's biochemical individuality. I hate to use that as an excuse.
Yeah.
I could answer everyone like, oh, because everyone's different. And thank you for saying that, but I don't buy that from the point of view. I told the person they'd be healed. So I don't want to start pulling, I don't want to pulling excuses out. But you are right, there's differences, but shouldn't be that much of a difference.
Makes sense. All right, so we've got another question here, follow-up question as you requested. I'm sorry again. Saccharomyces Bilardii. You have me taking L-glut.
L-glutamine.
So L-glutamine.
L-glutamine, yeah.
Yeah, okay. 2 times. Half a scoop GI Select 2 times. Permeability Select 2 times. Probiotics Select 2 times. And colostrum 2 times. What should I do to help?
Run over real quick if they told you how many they're taking 2 times. It should say like 2 times 2. Does it say there instead?
Yeah, so L-glutamine 2x, and then half a scoop of GI Select 2x.
Oh, hold on. Go to 3/4 of a scoop of the GI Select.
Okay.
Little awkward doing this online here, but how many permeability?
2x.
Well, 2x means 2 times something, 2 times 1. I'm going to ask that person to email me tonight, and I'll holisticgi@yahoo.com. It takes too much time to hear exactly the quantities, but what I do is if it's a pill, I'll tell you this general thing. If it's a pill, we just add an increment of 1. If they're taking 1 twice a day, we take 2 twice a day. 2 twice a day, we take 3. If it's a powder, we increase it by 1/4 of a cup or a scoop, whatever, a teaspoon or a scoop, whatever you're taking. That should be able to give a good answer. That should be a sufficient answer. If it isn't, send me an email.
Okay, perfect. Ryan says, I wish I could gain more weight taking colostrum, LOL, and then Tammy says she can take some of her weight.
Ryan?
All right.
Ryan is my buddy, and I got to talk to Ryan soon. Tomorrow, maybe. Let's talk Ryan tomorrow, okay?
Fantastic. So, Vanessa, if it's acid that's the problem, should we be taking an antacid whilst taking the protocol?
Good question, Vanessa. That came up with somebody recently, and I said, yeah, hadn't thought of it. It's not a bad thing. It's probably a good idea because you're lowering. As a matter of fact, I'm smiling because that's a really good question. It's a really good thought. I'm going to claim it. By the way, Vanessa, when I start promoting take a antacid, I'm saying I thought of it. I'm not going to mention you. Okay, so it's my idea. I'll start right now. Dr. Snow says you should consider taking an anti-acid pill, maybe just an over-the-counter one. Forget about Vanessa. She never said it, just me. So it's a good idea to reduce the acid while we're trying to build the mucosal lining. You would only do that. Remember, Vanessa didn't say this. It was me. The only time we do that is in the beginning. The thing you have to watch out with anti-acid is that you got to be careful when you stop taking it. You don't just stop because you're suppressing a lot of the acid. You'll have a rebound effect. You're going to be scorched. You feel like you had a heart attack. So not a bad idea. I may or may not actually suggest it. I'll be considering it. Where I will give a suggestion. Again, this is not Vanessa's idea. It's my idea. So forget Vanessa ever said it. So if you have acid reflux and we drinking the mucosal line, drinking the liquid probiotic, throw some colostrum in, mix it up in the ball and shake it. Build the lining. Okay, the most difficult thing I treat is acid reflux, heartburn. We take some people already are, but if we're not, we might take an over-the-counter acid pill to get it off to a good start while we're building our mucosal lining. Okay, so remember, that's Dr. Snell's brilliant idea, and we never heard of Vanessa. Okay, Vanessa? Hope everyone knows I'm teasing Vanessa, right? But I'm not really.
No, sorry, I had lost you there for a second in my connection, but we're back. So,
okay.
All right. So I think we've covered most of them, Doctor. I mean, there's a few left. I'm just trying to pinpoint. Let me see here. There is one. It might not be fully relevant to what you teach, but she says, Carla, how do we get out of the fight, flight, or freeze mode? She says, I stay in it.
Fight or flight. Well, that's sort of what I said about the Mandy thing. Is if it's what I understand, fight or flight mode. I'm not an expert in that. I wish I was. So if that's not exactly what you're asking, just restate it. Ask again.
Yeah. So she just said, how do we get out of that state when you're in fight, flight, or freeze? And I think
what I do,
I think what she means by that.
Yeah. I have a policy.
I think what she means by that is
I'll tell you what I do. I'll tell you what I do, Italo. If something aggravates me, I go eat something I like. I punish the thing. I say, F you, man. I say, F you to the universe, whatever it is. I'm going to go have a hot fudge sundae. Or whatever. I don't eat those, but that's what I do. And so I just go, I'm looking for the universe to piss me off so I can go eat a bag of Fritos or something. That's what I do. Okay?
do the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Sounds great, Doctor. Well, we really appreciate all these questions from the audience. They're increasing every week, and I think we might have left a few more for next week. And definitely, we appreciate everyone continuing to ask these questions because we're helping each other as a community, right? To gain answers from each other, to get answers from you, and looking at this platform that you're building, it's very essential for us to have a guide. So we really appreciate that.
Well, I want to say something to you and everyone to know that you became a patient of mine, and we decided to work on some stuff. I want to get stuff out to the world. That's what I want to do. My daughter said to me, what about all that knowledge? We're going to waste it? So you and I talked about that. But here's a guy, Italo, who just voluntarily said, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to launch this thing. I don't know what I'm doing. He said, I'll help you. Just voluntarily. Just was there. He's been there 3 weeks in a row. Not getting paid. Just a volunteer. He's got a family. As far as I know, you were on the highway in your car just before we started. That's a cool guy. That's a cool guy. That's a guy.
Appreciate you, Doctor.
That guy said, "I'll help you out." That means a lot to me. Thank you.
Okay. It means a lot to me as well, and to our family. It's been 18 years in the battle, and I can't stand to see people in pain. I can't stand to see my colleagues in pain. I mean, everyone here in the audience, they're all living through very similar stuff, and the fact that you bring some light to us, it's a huge deal. So we really appreciate that.
You and I, our next conversation is about your health. We'll talk soon about that, okay?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, so we're all done for today?
All wrapped up. Looking forward to next week at 4 p.m. And if people want to visit your website, we're still using that same link, right? The one on the
right.
on YouTube?
This is what I want to tell everybody. I'm going to be doing less and less appointments. And I just don't have the time. I can't handle all the emails that come with it. But here's something better. That Holistic Gastroenterology has the protocols that I would be telling you what to do on there for $100 less. So you're going to save $100, but you're going to get more out of me because, to tell you the truth, when I'm doing an appointment with you, I have pressure maybe to get off the phone. I only have time to say many things. I can only think of so many things at once. That protocol there, even if you had an appointment with me already, have a protocol, will give you more than I gave you. Not that I was screwing you in any way. I took 5 years to build that thing, and so if you haven't had an appointment with me before, save the $100. Go there, get everything plus, and you'll have that. You can do it at your own pace. And here's the nice part: you can turn it on to your family, your friends. You'll have that, maybe the next generation. Nothing better is going to come along. And here's another thing I want to tell you. It's not going to be improved upon. You know they say new improved? It's not going to be new improved. There's nothing to improve. So it's there, it's timeless. So consider doing that, saving yourself $100, and let me relax a little bit, okay? Thank you. So long, guys.
We appreciate you, Doctor.
Okay, so long. We'll end it now till next week. And by the way, if you have questions for me, send them during the week and identify yourself as a listener, and we'll talk about it